kindly.
Well, I imagine that there's probably not a single person in this audience who hasn't heard of The Sims. And we just heard one big statistic about the 70 million players worldwide, but I had a couple others that I wanted to drop. Sims 4 is the current version of the game. 70 million players worldwide. Since it became free just in October of last year, there have been more than 16 million new players downloaded it. Sims 4 is the #1 PC game among Gen Z and millennial women in the United States, and the #3 PC game among all gamers in not the US, not Canada, in 37 markets. So this is a really big game that resonates with a lot of people. Why is that? Why are people attracted to this game? What makes them such addicts with it?
It is sort of the big question, and it turns out that a game about life is relevant to a whole lot of people. And I think there's something just inherent about the creative platform of The Sims, right? It's not about the stories that we tell as developers. It's about the features and the tools and the ability that we create for players to tell their own stories and share their stories with each other, which is what I think makes it resonate with so many people, right? That regardless of what life looks like for you or the way that you would like your life to look like or imagine your life possibly looking like, I don't know, maybe you want to be a vampire, right? We try to create the possibilities for players to represent that, representing their own imagination, their own creativity. It's about theirs, not ours.
I think this is an important point and one worth digging into a little bit more, because in the wider world of video games and in video game development, there's a lot of the focus is, okay, we're going to write a story. There is a plot that we have determined for you, and your job as a player is to go from point A to point B to point C. But what The Sims is really a platform for you write your own. You decide if you want to start at point A or point Q. But like it's really an engine for that, for like you can be whatever kind of person you want, living what kind of life you want to.
I think the ability that I am telling my own story, but quite frankly, The Sims are going to do their thing, right? That is that delight where we get that chaos of the creativity, because I can start by saying, I'm going to tell this story. But probably the way it plays out exactly in your mind is not actually what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? So the AI is sort of the word of the day this week. But The Sims and Maxis has been working through simulation and more or less sentient little Sims, right, for 23 years now.
Right.
And those Sims, they have minds of their own. And so that is some of the fun, right? When you play or I play, not only are we bringing our own imagination and our own self of how we want to express ourselves, but then you add in the chaos that is inherent to the game, and I think that's where the magic happens.
I have often found when playing the game that I start out just saying, oh, I want to just build a house. Like I'm almost just doing a construction simulator. But then you start to get into it, and now I'm obsessed with the neighbors. And what I really care about is making a bunch of money so I can buy their houses, and I want to marry this Sim to this Sim. And it's unexpected the way that the stories unfold for you.
I think that unexpected is really the key word for me, and I think for a lot of players, right? It's that sort of let's see what happens. That's fun.
So how have the storytelling tools evolved over time? What are the new things in the game that is either a feature or something they can download that allow them to tell a different story?
I think a lot of the time we think about the arc of The Sims as Sims 1, The Sims 2, The Sims 3, The Sims 4, but really even within each generation, what you experience when you download The Sims 4 today is very different from what it was in 2014 when we launched. So not only are we adding in a lot of new features that are available to everybody. So for example, we've added in customizable pronouns. We've added a lot of features that allow players to represent additional levels of diversity. But we also have very substantial content packs. Right, I think we've got over 60 packs now that provide meaningful new gameplay. So it's gameplay driving, it's creation driving over that multi-year arc.
And the packs aren't just like, oh, this is a new set of clothing. Some of them are like, oh, this one lets you be a vampire. Right. And there's also some interesting partnerships with outside developers or with outside fashion. Can you tell us a little bit about that, like some of the partnerships and how that changes the content?
One of the things that's really fun about being what I think of as the steward for The Sims is the level of partnerships that are relevant for Sims players is sort of infinite, right? You can think about fashion brands, or you can think about particular creators, or even furniture, right? And we think a lot about when we're exploring, is there a partnership that we should consider or not? Is this really going to be additive to the experience for our players? And it's a broad range.
Right.
We recently did a partnership with Me Undies, which was super fun, right? In the past, we've done things with IKEA or Moschino, as well as a lot of creator partnerships.
Yeah. So I want to get into the community a little bit, because I know this is also an important part of this, that some of those partnerships are to address a specific community of players. This is a community that you were actively engaging with day to day. You do not simply drop the game and come back 10 years later with a new version. It's a very close and very a cooperative environment, right?
I like the word cooperative. Sometimes it doesn't always feel that way, but I have to remind myself it comes from a place of love.
Yeah.
We've got a very passionate community, and they definitely tell us what they think, which we appreciate. We really embrace what we call radical transparency, of trying to be as open as possible with the community, both around some of what we are trying to do, and then also working very closely with our community to understand what is it that they care about. And not only do we see that through the content that we create, but UGC is a really important part of the Sims experience. So we have and have had for basically 20 years a very vibrant community of modders and content creators, far before creator was sort of the buzzword, right? Something like 70% of active Sims players engage with UGC, right? Engage with player-created content. And so we're also very actively thinking about how do we support that community so that they can create the content that they want to create in a way that is safe and is going to add to the experience of our players.
And one of the things that results is you get these very vibrant communities of different types of people. And, so anecdotally, just before I came here, I was talking to one of my reporters at the Messenger who is black, and he said to me, "Oh, you're talking about The Sims. You've got to ask her about the black community in Sims," because he said, this is one of the few games where black people really find themselves, that it's customizable. He said, I can get my hair in this game, and I can't do that in other games.
The diversity of the community and the diversity of the team, I think, have a very not coincidental, sort of symbiotic relationship, where this question of being able to represent yourself is so fundamental to the way the team thinks about features. And we definitely do not always get it right? There's definitely been features where we didn't get it right on the first try in terms of the representation that we were trying to achieve, but we are constantly working to improve it. And as a result, we have an incredibly diverse player base that is, I would say, much more reflective of the diversity of the world at large than what you would see in a lot of in a lot of games. And similarly, our team, right? I don't have the comms for sure, but I'm pretty sure that the Sims team, the Maxis team, is one of, if not the most diverse teams in the industry. Last year, more than half of the people we hired were women, which is not the norm for games, right? So it's super exciting. We're really proud.
And that's so important to the storytelling, because on one hand, maybe I want to go into the game and I want to play as a short woman vampire, definitely not me, but maybe I want to see myself. And so having those tools there really means a lot to players.
Good.
So let's talk about the way the game is evolving. You mentioned AI, which I think continues the streak of AI being mentioned during every single session on every single stage at Collision this week. How are tools like that? I mean, AI is already something that's been used in Sims for a long time, right? How is it used right now, and how is that changing the game?
So machine learning and AI have really been kind of, I think, cornerstones to innovation at EA for a very long time. AI was not, in fact, invented in November of last year, right? This has been a journey that the folks have been on for a very long time. And we're clearly at, I think, an inflection point where we are seeing as an industry, even just as a tech industry, what the possibility is for AI. I am super excited. I think we look at AI through a number of lenses. There's the generative AI as well as more deeper side on the deep technology side, but allowing us to both be able to amplify the efforts of our developers as well as on the community and on the creator side.
One of the things that I also find engaging about the game is that the AI for the Sims themselves is often realistic in an unpredictable way. That like, it's not simply, okay, I know that my neighbor is going to go to work every day. The neighbors, they will surprise you. They will do strange things. They keep the game alive. They feel real in a very tangible way.
Sometimes they'll even do their dishes in the bathroom sink. You never know what they're going to do.
Well, I've had roommates who kind of acted the same. So there we go. I mean, the AI works properly. Another way that the technology has evolved is that there's now multiple platforms involved. This is correct me if I'm wrong, I still think of Sims first and foremost as a PC game, but it's also a mobile game. There are different platforms. How has that evolved and how is it changing?
So the Sims has historically, you're right, been very strong on PC. As you were saying earlier, it is the number one game on PC for Gen Z women and millennials, which we're super excited by. But it is also on other platforms. So we have 2 mobile games, the Sims Mobile and Sims Freeplay. And with our newest entry into the Sims universe, which is very early days, we'll be leaning much more heavily into more ways to play on more platforms.
I think the free play, so the free play is what I mentioned in the beginning, that since the game's gone free, there's been like 16 million downloads. Have you seen that the free play has changed the way that players interact with the game? Are they doing something differently in that version? Or?
So Sims Freeplay is a standalone mobile game that's been around for a long time. The Sims 4 went free on PC and console in October of last year, and we've seen a lot of growth. And we are really excited to be able to tap into new communities or people who maybe hadn't thought that The Sims would be something that they would enjoy. And now they've been able to come in, try it for free, and stick around and share that experience with their friends.
So I love that over and over again. In just the last couple minutes, we've heard you talk about community again and again and having this connection. If there are people here, maybe they're not in the video game industry, but every business, everybody is trying to have that relationship with their users, with their community. What are the takeaways, the advice that you can give people who want to build this kind of vibrant community?
It has to be authentic.
Yeah.
Right? I think that constant, authentic interaction of really listening. I think sometimes you hear people talk about community, but it's actually a monologue, right? I'm going to talk at my audience. That is not a community. It's how do you foster the connection in and among your audience that then you are part of and you are adding to, but you can't control. So it's how do you tap into that? So we are very deliberate about not just paying attention to what the community is talking about, but creating opportunities for amplifying what the community is already doing. So there are many challenges, for example, that the community has created. The 100 baby challenge is a very popular one. You might want to try it, not in real life. And similar kinds of experiences that just bring so much enthusiasm and lots of sharing that we actually don't really have anything to do with other than to say we have created this creative platform where you can tell all of your stories and share your stories and then just see what the community does.
Is it extra challenging to have that sort of relationship with the community when we are talking about a platform and an experience that is in many ways personal? That, because people can see themselves reflected in the games, they can put their own desire into it, or they can do the kind of things, I'll do this in the game, I wish I could do this in real life. They get this weird connection, not weird, but positive connection with the game that you might not have with other properties. Does that make it harder to maintain those relationships?
Yes and no. I think it's harder, but it's absolutely worth it, right? I think The Sims, and obviously I have drunk the Kool-Aid here, but I think that The Sims is one of the most important entertainment brands in the world, and we have just scratched the surface of what the potential is for The Sims, because it has so much meaning for people, right? There's lots of games that are delightful and fun to play, but I think The Sims is really special in the impact that it has on players. As I'm looking at her, I'm seeing some nodding. I think some of you are feeling me, right? This sense of discovery and self-expression and creativity and figuring out who am I and who do I want to be today, and maybe I want to try something else in a way that just doesn't exist in other places, entirely on your terms, right? Today I want to play just by myself, and tomorrow maybe I'm going to want to do this with somebody else, and I'm going to want to share this experience. And I think that flexibility and that the impact on how you come to figure out who you are, knowing that that is a journey that is never complete, I'm like sitting here having chills just talking about it, because I think it's so powerful, and I just don't see that in any other place.
Yeah, it's very unique, and to your point, it's a world that's sort of, even after 23 years just opening up, there's so much more potential to it. So let's talk about where we go next. We're already working on Project Renee, which is the future of the game. What can you tell us about Project Renee?
So Project Renee is very early. I talked earlier about radical transparency and working closely with our players in our community. So this is a big step for us of being so public about what we're building so early in the process. So it is, it is not going to be coming anytime soon, but really focusing on how do we allow more players to engage with The Sims in more ways, whether that's playing socially, playing with friends, playing on different platforms. So it's really exciting.
So I know that it's very early in the process, but is there a particular aspect of the game, something you hope to see, maybe not even Project Renee, but in like 10 years from now, where would you like to see the game evolve to? What kind of stuff gets you excited?
Oh, this is when I'm going to get myself in trouble. I think that the opportunity for The Sims to just expand and become, I think it's already a household name, but a much more broadly embraced cultural driver, right? Thinking about The Sims as a cultural catalyst, as you start talking about here's the experience that I'm creating, and now you're going to get involved in that, and we'll create something together, and then who knows where that goes, right? When we can harness the creativity of millions of people towards the creation of all of these different experiences, the potential for what that could become, I think could be world-changing.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, just like as a player, but also as an outside observer, that people are so excited about, just to see, like, what are people going to create? What will this look like in the future? It's just so exciting. Well, Kat, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.